To help Cipher to know the problem, we will use the affine cipher approach. Doing so, what is an affine cipher? An affine cipher is a type of monoalphabetic substitution cipher wherein each letter in an alphabet is mapped to its numeric equivalent, encrypted using a simple mathematical function, and converted back to a letter. The formula used means that each letter encrypts to one another letter, and back again, meaning that the cipher is essentially a standard substitution cipher with a rule governing which letter goes to which. This process relies on working modulo m, and the key for a affine cipher consists of two numbers. We'll call them A and B. Again, modulo m, and the key consists of two numbers, A and B. The following discussion assumes that the use of a 26-character alphabet, which is the modulo 26. Encryption uses modular arithmetic to transform the integer that each plaintext letter corresponds to into another integer corresponds to a cipher letter, and with the encryption rule of E sub k of is x equal to ax plus b modulo 26. While in decryption, it's deciphering the cipher text, we must perform the inverse function. And the decryption rule is d sub k
is
of
equal
y
to
a raised to negative 1 y minus p. Knowing how affine cipher works, let us see Diego's letter. In the letter, the plain text is jungle. So we're gonna put jungle here in the box. And it says that the key pair is 5 and 3. Key pair 5 and 3. That's going to be the encryption rule of 5x plus 3 modulo 26. But before that, let us find the integer numbers of this corresponding plaintext. A corresponds to 9, U corresponds to 20, N corresponds to 13, G corresponds to 6, L corresponds to 11, and E corresponds to 4. Knowing that, we will now have the encryption rule. Again, it's E sub k of x, or like 5x plus 3. In doing so, we will substitute our integers x into these numbers. So we're gonna have 5 substitute x by 9 plus 3. Modulo 26 is congruent to 8, right? So 48 modulo 26. Getting the encryption, we will have to divide 48 divided by 26. And we will get 1.8, right? So we'll have the whole number. We're getting the whole number. So it's going to be 26. So 26 multiplied by this whole number, you'll get 26. Subtract 48 to 26 and you will get 22. So now the answer is congruent to 22 modulo 26. 5 multiplied by 20 plus 3 modulo 26 is equals to 103 modulo 26. Again, in doing so, you will divide 103 to 26. And you will get 3.9. You get the whole number. 26 multiplied by whole number, you will get 78. Subtract 103 to this minus 78 and you will get 25. So now it is congruent to 25 modulo 26. 5 multiplied by 13 plus 3 modulo 26. You will have 68 modulo 26. And it is congruent to 16 modulo 26. Again, for letter G, 5 multiplied by 6 plus 3 is congruent to 33 modulo 26. It's congruent then to 7 modulo 26. For letter L, substitute 5, 11 plus 3 modulo 26. Congruent to 58 modulo 26. Then, the final answer is 6 modulo 26. And lastly, for E, substitute again the 4 plus 3 modulo 26. And you will get 23 modulo 26. Since 23 is less than 26, it is already the final answer. Put Cipher text. Okay? Let's see from the table what is the corresponding letter to this integer number. 22 corresponds to W, 25 corresponds to Z, 16 corresponds to Q, 7 corresponds to H, 6 corresponds to G, and 23 corresponds to X. And that is our encryption group.